David Menzies for Rebel News here in Markham, Ontario. Well, folks, we all know that Justin Trudeau has admiration in his heart for the basic dictatorship that is China. That's what he said some 8 years ago, if you can imagine.
There's a level of admiration I actually have for China because their basic dictatorship is allowing them to actually turn their economy around on a dime.
But this is ridiculous. And when I say this, it's what's occurring allegedly behind the walls of this office in this nondescript Markham, Ontario industrial park. You see, it has made the news in several media outlets that there are actually Chinese police stations operating on Canadian soil, 2 in Markham and 1 in Scarborough that we know of. And one of the overseas Chinese police stations is based here at the Canada-Toronto Fuking Business Association. I hope I pronounced that correctly. It's a mystery. How can this be? Why is this even a thing? We know from media reports that Safeguard Defenders, which is a human rights watchdog, is that China has actually opened dozens of these police service stations all around the world, and they are designed to monitor Chinese citizens living abroad. I mean, that sounds a little ominous to me. Safeguard Defenders notes in a report that, quote, these operations eschew official bilateral police and judicial cooperation and violate the international rule of law and may violate the territorial integrity in third countries involved in setting up parallel policing mechanisms using illegal methods, end quote. Now, the ostensible policy reason for these police stations on Canadian soil is to give China extra tools in order to combat fraud by its citizens. But given China's record on human rights, given that China gave the world the COVID-19 virus and all the millions of deaths and trillions of dollars of economic damage that came with it, do you believe anything that the mandarins in Beijing are saying? I certainly take it with a shovel full of salt, folks. The Safeguard Defenders, they go on to say that these police forces have been responsible for some 230,000 Chinese nationals being, quote, persuaded to return, end quote, to China to voluntarily face criminal prosecution. But it gets even worse. The report issued by Safeguard Defenders also notes, folks, that these police stations have been used to enhance China's overseas law enforcement capabilities in possible violation of international law. And, knock me down with a feather, there has been potential human rights abuses thanks to these police that are operating on foreign soil, which includes everything from harassment to intimidation methods used against attendees. Regardless, given the human rights record of communist China, I go back to what I said earlier. Why is this being tolerated? Why is this even being entertained? Now, I did reach out to the Toronto Police Service and York Regional Police. The Toronto Police Service told me to go to Interpol Canada. They would answer my questions. I've reached out, haven't heard anything there. For York Regional Police, they directed me to the RCMP. So it seems that these police agencies, that is the legitimate ones on Canadian soil, want nothing to do with this or don't even know about its existence, which is quite frankly baffling. We came here earlier, that's my cameraman Isabel and I. The door was locked and either nobody was answering the door or the business is closed. Why don't we just go and make another house call and see if anyone's home? As you can see, the door is locked. Now, I see a monitor on, but so far nothing. Well, there you have it, folks. Either no one's home or they are simply not answering the door to us. And I don't know anything about the Canada Toronto Fuking Business Association, but I'm going to attempt to find out in the days ahead. I'm also going to try to find out where the other Markham police station is and where the Scarborough police station is. But regardless, I think this is an affront to Canada's sovereignty. Imagine having a foreign police force from China, of all countries, walking around monitoring the thoughts and writings and activity of Chinese Canadians. I think that's absolutely appalling. And would Beijing allow the Toronto Police Service or York Regional Police to set up a detachment in that city? I highly doubt it. Regardless, this stinks, and we have to send a message to the powers that be. Yes, Justin Trudeau loves China. Justin Trudeau loves Iran. He loves all kinds of dictatorships, but this is beyond the pale. Will you please go to our latest petition? It's called kickthemout.ca. When I say them, I'm talking about members of the various Chinese police forces that are here in Markham and Scarborough and in 30 other countries around the world doing their bidding for the mandarins in Beijing. Absolutely outrageous. Sign the petition and we will drop it off to whoever is in charge of this egregious fiasco. Folks, I know it's hard to believe, but there are allegedly 3 Chinese police stations being harbored in the Greater Toronto Area, 2 in Markham, 1 in Scarborough, Ontario. One of them is allegedly behind the walls of this association. It's called the Canada Toronto Fuking Business Association. This is beyond the pale. Chinese police enforcing the mandates of Beijing on Canadian soil. Please go to kickthemout.ca. That's kickthemout.ca. We're going to send that petition to the powers that be who are in charge of this egregious fiasco and tell them enough is enough.